Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham blog and what has proven to be a very busy day in the transfer window for Tottenham. Today I'm going to be recapping the two confirmed deals, one incoming and one outgoing, and also talking about a deal that has been agreed for a player who's looking to become our third signing of the transfer window. So before I get into that video, if you want more content like this plus interactive live streams and match previews and reviews, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and click the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload. So to go through the departure first of all, it's one that we have been expecting to come for quite a while now, and one that will be met with mixed reactions from the Tottenham fan base, and it is that Christian Eriksen has, after a long transfer saga, finally departed the club and joined Inter Milan. The move is believed to be about £17 million up front with about £5 million in add-ons, which for a player who only has 6 months left on his contract and was only attracting offers of about £10 million earlier in the window, it's, I think, a great deal for Tottenham. And look, while Eriksen has been a great servant to the club over the years and he's had some outstanding seasons and he's done some great things for us, I think, as a lot of fans do, it was time for the connection between the two to come to an end. And it is good that, you know, it has turned a bit sour with the fan base in recent months, but before it got too bad, Eriksen has now left and we have managed to recoup a decent transfer fee for him as well. There's some talk coming out of Italy that there are some very strange add-ons in that contract. One of them is that Inter Milan are actually covering the 5% sell-on clause that Tottenham owe Ajax, which I think is really interesting. And also there's going to be a friendly between the two clubs next pre-season, and all of the profits will be going to Tottenham. I'm not too sure how true those rumours are, but you know, it's typical Daniel Levy if it is true, and it's good to get an extra bit out of that deal. But they're not really too important. It is just the fact that Christian Eriksen has now left and he's joined Inter Milan. He's believed to be on about £320,000 a week, which is of course a massive pay raise from what he's on at Tottenham. That's more than 3 times what he was earning at White Hart Lane. But look, we wish him all the best in Italy. It's certainly a league that will suit his style of play. It's a lot slower than the Premier League, and as I've said all throughout this, even last summer when there was talk of him leaving, I said he is going to go to a team and he is going to play a lot better than what he's been playing at Tottenham, because essentially he's a player who kind of works off the quality and the foreign players around him, and he hasn't had that at Tottenham for the last 12 months or so. And Inter Milan, who are right in the thick of a title race over in Italy right now, I think he'll fit in really well, and I do think he will go on to have a great couple of years there, even though it is a step down from the Premier League. Personally for him, I think it's a decent move, and despite what has happened with him in the last year or so, I do hope he goes on and wins trophies with them. But it's, again, mixed emotions seeing him leave the club. Now, the signing that Tottenham have confirmed today is, of course, Giovani Celso, and again, this is one that we were expecting. We signed Celso on an initial loan deal last summer with an obligation to buy at the end of the season if we qualified for European competition, that reducing to an option if we didn't qualify. Now, it was in the last, maybe towards the end of December, it started resurfacing that there was actually an option in that deal for Tottenham to make the move permanent in January at a reduced cost, and that is a clause that Tottenham have now activated. As Real Betis' president said in December would happen, and as Jose Mourinho said as recently as the weekend would happen, it has now been done. So we've signed him on top of the £15 million fee in the summer. We paid an extra £27 million, so bringing that up to about £42 million to sign him. We're saving about I think it's £7 million if we'd waited to sign him in the summer. It's not that much of a difference, but I think it's good to get this deal done sooner rather than later. His performances in the last few weeks have certainly warranted that fee being paid, and it's good now that we have him in permanently, which does also free up a potential signing for another loan player to come in, which I'll be getting onto a bit later as well after I talk about Steven Bergwijn. But yes, this Celso deal is done. He signed a contract until 2025, which is a very, very long-term contract, and you know, he's a very young player. He's slowly been acclimatising to the Premier League, and we've seen a real upturn in his form in the last couple of weeks. So hopefully he can continue that and push on, and hopefully get us into the top 4 before the end of the season, which at the moment is looking like a big ask. But with this deal done, Gedson Fernandes already brought in, and now 2 more potential signings in the next couple of days. This is shaping up to be a very, very interesting week for Tottenham, and if it goes to plan, potentially a very, very interesting race for the top 4 as we move into the latter half of the season. Now, another potential incoming, which is expected to be completed in the next couple of days, as I mentioned, is Steven Burgoyne. I made a video about him yesterday and even the day before, one a player profile and one bringing the news that Tottenham are looking very likely to complete this deal And Sky Sports today confirmed that Tottenham have agreed a deal with PSV to sign him. That deal, I think, is about £30 million with $2 million in add-ons. There's some varying reports there, some saying it's about £27 million, but it is in and around the 30 million mark that we will be signing him for. This has kind of been, it's another one that went under the radar until he travelled to London at the weekend, but it's one that has been confirmed by a lot of sources inside PSV. The player himself posted that video on Instagram yesterday explaining the situation about the rumours suggesting he refused to play for PSV against FC20 at the weekend. In order to push this transfer through, he confirmed those rumours weren't true. He received the backing of his manager to travel to London to get this done, and the manager, Ernest Faber himself, said the player had his full backing. He spoke to him, and it was a very amicable agreement between them, as they decided it was best for Bergwijn to go to London to try and get this transfer done. And even after that game against FC20 at the weekend, a few of his teammates, I think it's Denzel Dumfries and Ibrahim Afellay, both essentially congratulated the player on the move. So this is one that looks very, very likely to go through. And it's a very good signing. I'll link my video up there as well. Yesterday I did a player profile video on Burgoyne and why I think he'd be a great fit at Tottenham. So make sure to go and watch that after this one. And another potential signing that could be coming in this week. This one isn't as... it's not as likely as Bergwijn, but I do think it's one that could very well be done, and it is a signing of a striker, and it's looking like the most likely at the moment is Krzysztof PIATEK from AC Milan. Now, we were interested in him a couple of weeks ago, but it never really materialised to anything. I think it was when we were offered Zé Luiz from Porto, was kind of when the PIATEK deal was pushed to the side. Then Zé Luiz fell through because of work permit issues, and we moved on to Willian Jose. And I'm not sure there was ever too much truth to those rumours about Willian Jose, mainly because the profile of the player isn't one that Mourinho has publicly said he is looking for. It does look like we are revisiting this Krzysztof PIATEK deal. Sky Sports are saying that we are in preliminary talks, but we're nowhere near an agreement just yet. I think it's Fabrizio Romano is saying as well that we are in talks. They're advancing pretty nicely, and both teams are confident a deal can be done. But again, there is no agreement in place. AC Milan would prefer to sell the player this month. They want to recoup the £30 million that they paid for him to get him from Genoa last summer. But Tottenham, as they have done quite a bit in the last couple of months, are looking to make this a loan deal with an option to buy in the summer. But that option would be for the £30 million that AC Milan want. But it's just a case of Milan wanting the money now rather than waiting till the summer to get him, and potentially running the risk of not actually getting that money if he proves to be a disappointing signing for Tottenham. I doubt we would exercise that option to buy. So it does seem to be the structure and the style of the deal that is coming in the way. But I'm unsure if this deal that has made Celso permanent would have anything to do with that, because there is only room for 2 loan players in our squad. So signing Celso on a permanent does, of course, open up one more. The second one being filled at the moment by Gedson Fernandes. But this PIATEK deal, again, it's one that I would like to see go through, and I know there are, again, some mixed emotions with fans on this one, given his really poor record for AC Milan in the Serie A this season. But I think you do have to take into account his numbers in the previous season with Genoa, which were absolutely sensational, and also the form of AC Milan as a whole this season, which has been really, really dreadful. And I think you have to kind of judge the player off his career as a whole rather than this one season, which has been a major disappointment for the club that he is with. I've also done a player profile video on him, so again, I'll link that up there, and they'll both be in the description as well. If you want to go and have a look at them and kind of make up your own opinions on these signings and whether or not you think they'd fit in at Tottenham. But look, regardless of whether or not you like the particular players that are coming into Tottenham, I think it is good to see. Now, this is 2 transfer windows in a row where Daniel Levy has really gotten his money out, and he's invested heavily in the squad. In the summer, I think it was a little over 100 million we spent on Ndombele, Sessegnon, Celso, and of course Jack Clarke, who is now loaned out to QPR. And you know, there aren't many teams that go into a January transfer window with the intent that Tottenham have gone into this one. I don't think we've ever had a January window as busy as this. Looking at potentially 4 signings, with of course Fernandes, Celso being made permanent, and now potentially Bergwijn and PIATEK. Whether or not it will be enough to get us into the top 4 this season remains to be seen. I think it is reassuring that the teams around us aren't strengthening as much. Arsenal, their main target for this window, centre-back Pablo Mari, is actually expected to stay at Flamengo now, so that deal could have fallen through for them. Chelsea had their transfer ban lifted for this window, and they were expected to go in heavy after only being able to sign Mateo Kovacic and a loan option to buy deal in the summer. But again, they haven't been very busy this month. There is talk that they have tried to hijack Tottenham's move for Krzysztof Piątek, but they don't seem to have much truth to them. It's the more reliable sources are saying that it is looking like Piątek could end up at Tottenham. So look, there's 3-4 days left in the window now. It could be a very busy few for Tottenham, and if we can get these 2 deals done for Bergwijn and Piątek, you know, I think we really do have a chance for the rest of the season, if it is even in the shape of a domestic trophy. If we can win the FA Cup, if we can have a good run in it, maybe even another run in the Champions League. But for me, I think the priority is getting into the top 4, and we're certainly going the right way about it. Daniel Levy backing Jose Mourinho, and hopefully we can have a good end to the season. Don't forget to leave down in the comments below your opinion on these couple of signings, and of course the departure of Christian Eriksen. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for watching.